Okay, I want to respond here to a reel from I-24 in which they had Instagram influencer Hen Mazzig come on and discuss how Israel is presented on the world stage. Now, it's important to note Mazzig and his Tel Aviv Institute have received considerable funding from the Tides Foundation, which also gives to tons of anti-Israel groups. It's under investigation why any supposedly pro-Israel group would take that money. But let's just take a look at how they frame the conversation and why this is so dangerous for Israel's cause.
In the media, and Benjamin Netanyahu himself is admitting the country has work to do when it comes to reaching young people in the West. The Prime Minister telling a UK podcast that support among so-called Gen Z is slipping, a warning that comes as protests against Israel's military campaign in Gaza continues to draw large crowds of young demonstrators across Western capitals. A new Gallup poll shows just 6% of Americans aged 18 to 34 view Netanyahu favorably, and only 9% back Israel's military action in Gaza. Now, earlier, we asked social media influencer Chen Mazzig how he believes Israel could connect with younger audiences and what he makes of the Prime Minister's admission that more can be done.
I just want to clarify, I actually watched the podcast with Bibi, and it wasn't exactly what he said. He said that the Jewish people have been getting defamed for over 2,000 years, and there's only so much we can do. Now, I don't think that justifies the horrendous job that the foreign ministry has done for many parts of the war, but let's just be clear on what the prime minister actually said and not what he's said to have said.
I think it's a good thing that the government is finally admitting this, because let's be honest, Israel has completely failed to engage with Gen Z so far. And I say it as someone that speaks to young people every day. And the problem is that Gen Z can spot a government spin from a mile away. They don't just listen to the message, they interrogate it. They want to know who is saying it, why they are saying it, and does it feel authentic? And when the only voices they hear are official government talking points or former spokespeople of the government, it doesn't just fall flat, it actually pushes them away. So is it about the messaging or the substance? And the truth is that it's both. The messaging is wrong because the messenger is wrong. A ministry press release will never move a 20-year-old, and the substance is off too, because it's what we're offering is political slogans without speaking about values, justice, human beings, without.
That's completely false. There is a large aspect of justice. Israel trying to justly bring the hostages home and justly bring the war to a conclusion and justly prosecute a war. There's tons of talk of justice. There's tons of talk of values. Now, Chen might not agree with those values, but it's certainly there. Now, in terms of government spokespeople and former government spokespeople, that's a good point. That is a very good point. But also notice that Chen says that he was in the army, so therefore he has experience, and therefore he could be trusted. So he's actually invoking some of the same experiences that he's now critiquing from the Israeli government. Now, it's not mentioned in this interview, but that is part of what he does.
Sounding critical, so that is not going to convince anyone. And that's why I say that the government's campaign don't just fall flat, they backfire and they harm us. Every dollar poured into PR videos is a dollar wasted. And if it engages anyone or convincing anyone, it's likely Jews and pro-Israel people that have supported us. And speaking to this.
By the way, it's not a bad thing to engage Jews or pro-Israel people. Obviously, you want to get those people in between to show them what's going on in Gaza, in Lebanon, Syria, but that's not to be dismissed. There is something to be said about morale. Could Israel do a better job? Absolutely. I've been very vocal about that, but let's just be clear here. Is what he's saying really a critique of the handling of the situation, or is he just critiquing the government? Now, again, you have to keep in mind the Tides Foundation is funded by George Soros and other far left activists. And here is Chen saying things really antagonistic of the government.
echo chamber. As someone that has been doing this work for over a decade, together with my organization, Tel Aviv Institute, I can tell you that this project and bringing influences with the government is not going to get the results that they're hoping for. Leave the work of PR to the people that are experts in this field, that have done it for a long time. Let real Israelis and real Jews speak up without government intervention.
Not really sure what that means. Who's real, who's not real? You're saying you want a feeling of authenticity. Of course you want a feeling of authenticity. And again, there's real criticism to be had of the foreign ministry, but let's get to the grand conclusion here to see what Chen really wants to say.
And instead, focus all of your effort on ending this war, on bringing back the hostages, and ending all the violence.
Israel exists in the Middle East. There is violence. There are people that want to murder Israelis. Okay? It is not like living in Kansas. There are big problems. Israel has to have a strong military. So ending all of the violence, this might poll well in your polls or sound good for the Tel Aviv Institute, but this is not helping explain Israel's case. There has to be violence to end the war because you need to obliterate Hamas. There is a genocidal terrorist group staring you down in the face, wanting to kill you. So the sloganeering is actually coming from Chen when he is accusing Israel of sloganeering. This is subversive way of undermining Israel's strength on the world stage. So bring them home, end the war. Okay, how do you just end the war then? There's 50 hostages, 20 of whom are living, 30 of whom are deceased. I want specific answers. Specific policy. Instead, it's just sloganeering. So everything he's accusing Israel in the foreign ministry of doing, Chen is actually doing, but from an antagonistic perspective. He even wrote the other day, the war was over before it began. Again, you're being very antagonistic. So that's what bothers people when it comes to the Tel Aviv Institute's messaging. And this video is a good summary of that, of at least some of the problems. And let's just be honest about where the money's coming from, what the agenda is, and why sloganeering is only acceptable for one side of the aisle and not the other side. That would be true unity.